Hey, it's the Monster Man here, back with another video, and today we're trying a new format, where I'm going to do what I call a character cram, where I try to give you all the information you need about a comic character in order for you to decide if you're ready to dive in and check out their comics. But before all that, I just want to give a brief thank you to all the new subscribers. I hope all of you continue to watch my videos and help me hit 1,000 subscribers, and I really appreciate you watching my videos. But now let's get on to the video. So recently, I saw a new teaser trailer for a new Shadowman video game. Apparently, Shadowman is a classic PS2 action RPG based on the Valiant comics character of the same name. I never knew the Shadowman had a game series, but I'm a big fan of the Valiant universe, so I instantly recognized the silhouette. So I figured this is a great time to break down just who the Shadowman is and let you know what he's all about. To be honest, while I'm quite familiar with the Valiant universe, I'm way more familiar with the Unity characters like Ninjak, Eternal Warrior, and Livewire. I immediately recognized the Shadowman from supporting roles in their comics, but I didn't know too much about him until my deep dive for this video. And that's one of the things I want to impart to the viewers of this channel. There is never a wrong time to dive in and fall in love with comics. Great stories are always great, and it doesn't matter when you pick them up and discover how great they are. I feel like other channels want to come off as experts in every comic in a certain universe, and I feel like that can be a little exclusionary because it makes you feel like you have to spend a lot of time to get invested, but that's not true at all. I ran through about 3 volumes of Shadowman in a little over 2 weeks, and the collected volumes of Valiant comics tend to be cheaper and often on sale if you buy them digitally. And hey, if you subscribe to Comixology, you can read all the comic books I read included with the price. And that's not an ad, it's just an easy way to get into comics at the moment, so you do you. But all that said, 3 volumes is a lot, so what did I learn about the Shadowman? So you can see if it's a character you'd be interested in. To make it simple, the Shadowman is the Valiant Comics Ghost Rider. He's an awesome character who resides on the magical side of Valiant Comics. He is actually one of the heaviest hitters in the Valiant universe. That isn't to say he would be incredibly powerful in Marvel or DC, however. Valiant characters are supposed to embody a skewed vision of the world outside your window. There are no Superman level threats, and the strongest person in the Valiant universe is basically a literal barbarian in a symbiotic Iron Man suit, to give you a sense of the power scaling in this verse. Practically all the heroes are only slightly above human ability in the Valiant universe and can be easily killed for the most part with conventional weaponry. That being said, that is one of the things that gives Shadowman an edge. He is actually incredibly hard to kill, but I'll come back to that after I give you some of his background. The current Shadowman and the character that looks to be a protagonist of the new game is based on Jack Boniface. However, he is not the first Shadowman. The Shadowman is a mantle passed down through each generation to the son of the previous Shadowman. The Shadowman's incredible power comes from the eternal Shadow Loa that the Shadowman can control. Aloa is a voodoo spirit, and many of the Shadowman's magical abilities and adventures are based on voodoo beliefs, and voodoo is actually the main magic system in the Valiant universe, and other characters like Punk Mambo also use voodoo magic to fight evil. And I actually think that's pretty cool, because voodoo is not heavily explored in a lot of other comic books. You can think of the Loa like the Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. There are actually quite a number of similarities. The Loa, much like the Spirit of Vengeance, is a sentient spirit. However, it largely allows the person it rides free will and the agency to use its power any ways the user sees fit. And yes, Loa possession is referred to as a ghost literally riding a human. So, you don't believe he's the Ghost Rider, I don't know what else to tell you. The Shadow Loa gives you enhanced strength and enhanced speed, but not insane levels. If I had to give you a range, I'd probably say he could toss a car, but it'd take him some effort. And the same goes for the super speed. You could probably keep up with him with the human eye, but he'll blitz any normal human being with ease. And actually, I would even say his strength is pretty comparable to Ghost Rider's strength in the Marvel universe. The Shadow Loa also grants the wielder one of the strongest healing factors in the Valiant universe, and this is what makes the Shadowman so powerful in his verse. Healing factors are extremely rare in the Valiant, and even Valiant's stand-in for Wolverine, Bloodshot, requires a proportionate amount of calories to heal his wounds. And without those calories, he's not easily coming back. Other characters like the Eternal Warrior literally have to die before they can heal, and the times it takes Eternal Warrior to return to life is basically random for any onlooker, so you'd much rather have the Shadow Loa's healing factor. The Shadow Loa allows the Shadowman to become a being between living and dead, and that is implied to be what allows him to heal. Essentially, the idea being you can't kill what is already dead, therefore he just reverts to being fine, in some sense. And similar to how the Ghost Rider has a purpose of punishing the wicked, the Shadowman has a purpose as well, and his purpose is to protect the barrier between the human world and the dead side. The dead side is essentially purgatory. It is a place where all souls go, but it isn't their end destination. It's simply the road between life and multiple afterlives. And typically, the only way to enter the dead side is to be dead. The Shadowman is one of the only beings in the Valiant universe, though, that can enter and exit the dead side at will at any time, and maintain his living body in both planes of existence. This is actually the Shadowman's most iconic and one of his most powerful abilities, because most characters, even spirits and other Loa, cannot exist in both planes at once. So this gives the Shadowman an easy escape from difficult fights, as it functions as a somewhat version of teleportation. Kind of like how Kurt Wagner enters his alternate dimension and then poofs out, although the Shadowman can't appear in another location quite as fast. Other magical characters like Punk Mambo have to work around the limitations to enter and exit the dead side without accidentally dying, which would trap you in the dead side. And this ability to cross between the dead side allows the Shadowman to take his fights directly to demons and evil spirits that try to manipulate the world through the dead side. But, however, this isn't all his abilities, and he still has a few other powers that give him the edge against demons. The Shadowman possesses the uncanny ability to kill souls, which should be immortal, and you can see why this is useful in his line of work. Typically, souls can only change form. However, the Shadowman, using his Loa's abilities, can basically wipe them from existence, which is why many things in the dead side fear him. The Shadowman can also manipulate shadows to a limited degree and make shadow constructs. His constructs are often limited in scope and tend to be simple structures, nothing outlandish like the constructs a Green Lantern can make. One of his most intricate constructs was literally a flock of crows, so that's not usually the ability that's getting the job done, just so you have perspective. One of the main ways he likes to use his shadow constructs is as bindings, and those bindings can allow him to get a free hit on his opponents, which is usually all he needs. He also has this signature scythe or sickle, and the most current version of Jack Boniface does use a shadow construct scythe, and he can use his shadow manipulation to change the shape of his scythe, where he can use it to extend the range of his scythe for ranged attacks, or do things like increase the size of the blade or change its shape. The Shadowman is also a sorcerer, but he possesses what most would consider low-level magic. Voodoo magic is based on sacrifice in the real world and in the comic, so his magic often requires the recently dead or free souls to be used in order to use it. He's used this magic to create more powerful blood weapons and to close rifts between the living world and the dead side, and he also has limited control over the dead. I say limited because other necromancers such as Master Dark or Baron Samedi have much more advanced control over the dead, and the Shadowman can't seem to overwhelm their control, and often has to resort to killing whoever those two have sent after him. Even though the Shadowman isn't the best in his verse at magic, it's the combination of all his abilities that make him feared. And speaking of fear, the Shadowman Shadow Loa also grants him reduced fear, which is quite necessary given the horrors the dead side regularly produces. The Shadowman is aware of his weaknesses though, and he does close his gaps by working with others. He's often aided by the Abaters, which is an occultist group of mages whose purpose is to assist the Shadowman in their fight against evil forces. They help close the Shadowman's gap in knowledge of magical things, and they assist every new Shadowman in learning about their powers and abilities when the mantle is passed on. The Shadowman is often working with other spirits as well, like Baron Samedi, who's another Loa, who's considered the king of the dead, who has full control over dead spirits at a much stronger degree than the Shadowman himself. And they've worked together multiple times to take out villains like Master Dark. Okay, I'm inserting this part after the fact, so if it sounds different, that's why. I forgot to talk about Master Dark a little bit. Master Dark is the Shadowman's arch nemesis. He is the world's greatest necromancer, and that makes him incredibly powerful. I would call him the Sorcerer Supreme of the Valiant universe, though he is evil, so it's not exactly a good thing. Master Dark has an obsession with the dead side, which makes him the natural enemy of the Shadowman, as he wants to break down the barriers of the dead side and have full control over life and death itself. For much of the series, he is technically dead, and not in an undead way, and trapped in the dead side way, so he has to use his powers to influence the main world, and that's likely how the Shadowman will encounter him in this video game. Master Dark's powers allow him to have pyrokinesis, telekinesis, and the ability to shape souls into anything he desires. He can even take a basic soul and turn it into a super powerful killing soul that can even become a threat to the Shadowman himself. And even though Shadowman has killed Master Dark in the Dead Side before, he always finds a way to come back. And I think he is a worthy opponent for the versatile abilities of the Shadowman. Now back to the video. All this combined makes the Shadowman a force to be reckoned with, and his adventures fighting Master Dark and the various Loa of the Dead Side are incredibly compelling to read, and I recommend anyone check out his stories if you're into occult magic or just the type of horror stories that, say, a character like Ghost Rider might be a part of. The Shadowman's adventures are also often pretty self-contained, as not many characters work in the same space that he's in. Most characters in the Valiant universe don't have magic, so I also recommend this comic series if you like a comic that doesn't have a lot of tie-ins breaking up stories. The Valiant universe in general is a bit better at not breaking up stories when compared to Marvel or DC with their tie-ins, but it's not without some confusing references for their more popular characters like Exo Man of War or Ninjak. If this character sounds like something you'd be interested in, I recommend reading Shadowman Volume 1 from 2012, Birthrights, Volume 2 from the same run, and Shadowman Volume 1 from 2021, which is most likely the version of the Shadowman that I would expect to see in the game, since it's his most current iteration. But yeah, that's all I've got for now, and thank you for watching. If you like this different kind of video format, drop me a like and leave me a comment down below. I love reading what y'all are putting down there, so definitely let me know. And again, I don't consider myself an expert on Shadowman, so if there's something cool I should check out or something I missed about the character, let everybody know in that comment section. And again, just thank y'all, and I hope y'all have a great day.